Hello everyone, welcome to day 11 of this workshop about journaling as anti-anxiety tool, as your way of getting to know yourself, spending time with yourself and figuring out what exactly would you like to do when it comes to a stressful situation. So when it comes to anxiety, we generally struggle, right? Like we try to figure out what are my triggers, what exactly goes through when I feel anxious, and we have been exploring multiple parts of that journey. So if you're enjoying the journaling, please give me a thumbs up so that I know that you guys are journaling, you're doing the handwriting practice called a flow of thoughts, and you are thoroughly into the process. I know because I've been receiving lots of messages, but I would like all of us to be aware of each other. Okay, Priyanka, I keep receiving your messages. Even Tooth Fairy, of course, I get it. Seema Aditi, I get it from you. Jennifer, I know. Raghav, keep it up. Happy photographer, thank you. Anuja, thank you. Hi, Pamela from Italy, thank you so much. So when we do these processes, when we do these journaling activities, what are we doing? We are literally picking up different parts of our personalities, we are picking up parts of our behavior, and we are figuring out how exactly would we like to use it to our better future, to figure out how we would take it forward from here. Now till now, whatever has happened, till now whatever life has served you, whatever approaches you have picked up, everything is in a way done, and we cannot change it. We cannot go back and alter that. But if we have to look at what can we do, what do we have in our control to alter, then suddenly our approach towards everything becomes very different, right? So this is our attempt to look at it, change it, alter it. And as you know, this process is not sitting with someone else and accepting that you made a mistake or something went wrong. It is a process where you sit with yourself and figure out how can you make things better and improve them and alter them and change them for your benefit. Okay, so here we are. Before I get in today's conversation, let me speak about a few things that we're going to use as our hygiene factor hygiene factors when it comes to our handwriting therapy. Now, when we use the printouts or notebooks, just make sure that they are not too thin. Papers are not too thin. So if you are writing on a very thin paper, you've already chosen a book, so just keep certain pages underneath that, because most of the time we have pressure with which we write on a paper. So when you exert that pressure, when you use your regular pressure, it starts, your handwriting starts showing the imprints on pages below. So when you reach the next page, you already have this uneven surface on which you're trying to write. So if your page on which you're writing, journaling, doing your handwriting therapy, if that page, it's windy and nice, not helping our camera march. So if you look at your pages, if they're very thin, then make sure that you put some papers or some sheets underneath that. Okay. Second part, always use ballpoint pen. I know people who love other fancy pens like gel pens and fountain and other form of pens or pencils might not like this as an idea, but I'll tell you the logic behind it. Going back to the same point of pressure, when I want to exert my pressure, if my pen cannot take the pressure, then what do? I alter my pressure. Right? That happens to all of us. We constantly keep altering our pressure if the pen or the nib of the pen is very soft or fragile. So that's the point. We will not do that. We will make sure that we will remove the alteration aspect from the instrument that we are using, and we'll make sure that we use a ballpoint pen on the paper. So make sure that these are the two aspects. And somebody sent me, I think Joydeep sent me the sketch with the practice with sketch pen. Not allowed. You're not doing that. Absolutely not acceptable. Okay. So stick to ballpoint pen. Let's keep it simple. Let's make sure that we do the practice in the manner it is required so that we get the maximum benefit out of it. So what is today's concept? have you made a list of all the people who made some form of impact or you connected with yesterday? If you have, and if you have that list of all the people who have positively contributed to your life, people you miss, people you do not feel that can actually. Give me a moment. I'm getting slightly distracted. Let me fix this. Much better, isn't it? Okay. So when we look at things that are simpler and people who come from the past and people we love, people we enjoyed hanging with, things are simpler to look at, things are simpler to understand and accept. Today, let's take a deeper dive into those areas where you left some relationships unattended. Some relationships that did not do justice to your love, your care, your investment in that relationship. Now, what does that mean? Some relationships you nurtured, but they did not reciprocate the same amount of care. You left with anger, resentment, hurt. Now, I'm sure all of us have more than one relationships that fall into that category. And if you're talking about those relationships, you know that this is not the easiest space to talk about or open up. But if you're willing to walk that path, and if you're willing to look at those areas, and there's also an aspect that when we deal with emotions which are unresolved at that level, where people have broken our trust, and when we are operating from those past memories and feeling completely captivated by them, we have nowhere to go. So before we walk into that area, and people who are journaling regularly, I feel you're also slightly more equipped to deal with it because we have dealt with so many different emotions and layers. But people even who are new to the process, there is no problem. All of us have to find the correct ways of dealing with emotions. All of us have to at some point in time break that boundary and step into the area that are uncomfortable and something that is easier to escape than deal with. Okay, so let us make that journey today. Let us step into the areas where you were extremely angry or upset, or you cannot think of forgiving these people. So today we're going to pick up those moments of anger. And I know before I could speak about it, all of us are going in the past. We are rewinding certain moments. We are finding out all the areas and situations and episodes where this happened, where the person was unfair and the person was unacceptably immoral. The person shouldn't have done it. All the actions that were taken against you. I understand. Now, before we step into the story, and I know it is very, very difficult. Personally, it had been difficult for me, but before I started journaling, I used to think about so many moments like that and think why these moments constantly have hold of me. Otherwise I would be calmer as a person, but when it came to dealing with certain episodes, I just felt frozen. Now, as the song says from the movie Frozen, let it go, and that's the only solution there is, and we have to figure out a way to do it. Now, when we think about these moments and when we feel captivated in those memories, what do? We go back, and most of the time, with or without our knowledge, we dive deep, we recreate those memories, and we start reliving those experiences. Now, what happens when we do that? When we actually relive the memories and relive those moments, we start creating the same chemical reaction to that in our brains. We cannot differentiate whether it is happening because we are doing it out there, because it is happening in the moment, or it is coming from the past. Now, I know you might have heard of this example many a times, but let me give this example anyways because it works. It's literally something that one can relate to. Right now, I hope you're not eating or you're not having lunch at this time, or you don't have a piece of lime in front of you. I hope that is true, because if that is, then I want you to do this imaginary activity. I want you to take a piece of lime, hold it in your hand, in your mind, not for real. Just imagine you're holding a piece of lime in your hand. Now imagine putting it in your mouth. If you're not driving, which I believe you're not, just close your eyes for a moment and take a bite of that lime. Like, make sure that you experience how juicy that lime is. Yeah, that feeling. How many of you really experience your saliva reacting to it? Yeah. How many of you really felt that as if you, not in memory, but in reality, right now, took that bite? Now, your body does not differentiate between an imaginary situation and the reality. And the same thing happens when we go back. Yeah, yes, of course. All of us are experiencing it, right? This happens. We literally have that moment where the lime did not exist for you to experience it. And forget about you in this situation. For your body to physically react to it. Do you understand how complicated this mechanism is, or how simple is it? Because the very moment your body reacts to it, you are already a part of it. You're already playing the game that this imagination is creating around you. So if you think about the memories where you were very, very angry, do you experience that in your body? If you do not experience consciously, your body is experiencing it for sure. If you feel trapped, and this is where anxiety pangs come from. We do not realize, we cannot differentiate between the fear of a situation that is real and fear of a situation that is imaginary. And when that imagination becomes real, your body believes in it and reacts to it. Now, in a way, if you are an anxious person, let's also give some credit to you. You have already believed whatever imagination that you have been practicing. All along, it has been driven by that fear that you wanted to avoid, and you felt paralyzed. But it is the same skill. Your body knew how to recreate a memory, which means your body chose, your mind chose an experience. It's almost like replaying your favorite movie or watching Friends on YouTube again and again and again. You already know the dialogues by now. You know exactly what reaction Rachel gave and what Joey said, but you would still watch it. Why would we do that? Because it is nice to indulge in things that are familiar, isn't it? And that's exactly what we do when we think about the moments when we felt very, very angry, resentful, or when we think about relationships and the disappointments that we felt. Now, if we want to carry this around, you can. There is nobody stopping you. The only problem is if you choose to carry 10 kgs on your back and walk around whole day, guess who's getting tired? Yeah, exactly my point. It's not the other person who inflicted all these emotions on you going to get the repercussions of you carrying the resentment and anger around. It's you, my friend. And if that is the case, if you're going to carry that anger, and if your body is going to constantly react to that anger and that resentment and going to go back and repeat and replay that emotion again and again and again, this is where we create neural pathways. Handwriting actually is a snapshot of all the neural pathways that you have created by repeating a thought, by repeating a behavior, by repeating a certain kind of conditioning. So I love this line and I keep repeating it, that line, which is, if I can see something in handwriting, that means there is a pattern. There's a pattern that is well established. And if there is a pattern, then it works like a code and I can break it. You can break it. Anybody can break it because it is predictable. So what is your reaction to anger? What is your reaction to your resentful emotions can be broken if you capture the pattern. Now, if you may ask, if without understanding handwriting, how do I break this pattern? Journaling. Observing yourself, observing exactly what you choose, how you think, can be really, really, really liberating. Because we don't have to get stuck. We don't have to get um, we don't have to get, actually, it's emotionally mutilated. It's a very strong word, but it's literally like we feel paralyzed to a point where we feel broken. We feel somebody has this capacity to break us or mutilate us. And I'm speaking about that emotion that happen. That's why you feel so angry. Anger is this helpless reaction that you believe can get you the control back. We're not angry when we think these people are extremely strong and no matter what you do, they will not listen to you. That time anger is not your emotion. Anger is your emotion with those people where you feel being angry can get you the control back. And sometimes when you do not feel that you are in charge, you are in control in that external scenario, you become angry with yourself because you are telling yourself, I want the control back. Why are you not becoming strong enough to get that control back? Does that make sense? Yeah, so if that is the case, and if you really feel that emotion in you, if you think that you're fighting for control all the time, then anger is your trait because you have made those so-called faulty choices again and again and again. And I'm not saying you're wrong in choosing that. That was the best possible choice you had in the moment, and that is understandable. All I'm saying is, if that was the burning coal that you were given or you chose to hold in your hand, we did not carry that around. I feel many times the space or the idea of going beyond anger is also in. Check if you can hear me, because if my phone video pauses, many a times people can't hear me. Can you just give a thumbs up to know that, for me to know that you can hear me? Perfect. So, okay, great, thank you. So, when we look at holding these moments of anger which come from the past where we genuinely struggle with certain emotions, what exactly happens through you? And that happens, we give more importance to other people, their stories, their opinions, uh, their projection of us on ourselves more than our authentic self, because we don't know ourselves. So if that is true for you, like you literally give more importance to their opinion, and if that person is your brother, your spouse, your father, your mother, let's be honest and understand that somewhere you are looking for validation. It's not in other person's choice that they are not giving you the validation, which makes you angry in the first place. But because you were asking for that validation, and because in spite of asking for it you did not get it, that makes you angry. You want me to rephrase this? Let me try this in a different way. So it wasn't into you not feeling validated that you felt angry about. It was, in first place, you expected yourself to be angry, and you expected yourself to be validated, and the other person who could have validated you did not give you the space, and that made you angry. Now, if that is a space of anger, if that is a space of feeling impatient in the moment, and if you allow yourself the reaction, and I'm using these words very carefully, you allow yourself the privilege to be upset, angry, and throw things around and literally, behave in a manner that is uncontrollable for you, it is your choice. It is definitely your choice. It might not feel like that. It might not appear to be like that. You may think that no, it was that person who caused this. But with your journal, and between your journal and you, there is nothing that you have to pretend and say otherwise. So if you take a moment and realize, oh no, actually I wanted that person to validate. So let's be honest about our motives here, our ideas here. What was I looking for that I did not get that made me angry? And when you become that honest, let me tell you, it is not fun. It is like, no, I had a sob story. I loved my sob story, and you cannot take that story away from me. I'm not taking that story away from you. I'm just telling you that if it is a story that can lead you to make the choices that you're making, and if these choices are not working for you, then let's change the story. Then, and only then, if you think this is not working for you, then let's go back and change the narrative behind it. And if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to change your narrative behind overall the complication that you're holding on to, then we might be able to have a different experience. It's almost like biting into the line, and we will have a different experience, right? So let's get to today's question. What question can we ask today? So today, nothing complicated, a simple question. I want you to think about things that make you angry. So what makes you angry right now? Not in this moment. Don't get angry at me. Pause. What makes you angry right now in this phase or overall in last 3 months? What are those things that are repetitively making you angry? We can go back and think about when did you feel angry, the last time what happened, and what was the trigger when you got angry. Now most people tell me that when they get angry, they also have this specific pattern that they keep repeating. They behave in a certain manner which according to them is uncontrollable. And I'm saying according to them because when they drop the pattern, the reality changes. So we are going back and speaking about exactly what can you do to change your pattern when it comes to anger. Now when it comes to anger, most of the time people who hold on to anger, they're also doing disservice to themselves. What does that mean? Like when I hold anger in my system, at some point I'm agreeing with other people's disapproval. I'm saying, okay, I don't think I understand myself, and let me rely on your opinion of me, which is more important, because I do not believe in myself. Holding on to the anger becomes a better choice than letting it go, because that gives me a justified reasoning to do the things that I'm doing. If we want to reboot, if you want to restart, if you want to make different choices, do you think we want to carry this around, or do you want to drop it? And that is the choice we are making. Whatever is your choice. If you really wish to move out of this space, and if you don't want other things to have that much control over you, then dropping the anger is a good idea. Right? So if things can get to you, I just want you to be aware that you have to be aware of it. What exactly happens when you get angry? That is something very interesting happened. After I think 6 days, we went out, my sister and I, to buy some stuff like vegetables and all of that, and we were rushing. Like I had few calls to make, and it was a Sunday, so I had to come back and make some calls for appointments. So I was rushing. Now I was at the store picking up bread and things like that, and there was one person speaking on the phone, and he was screaming and fighting with his boss. I was waiting outside. I didn't realize that I was overhearing him, but he kept screaming and fighting, and he kept saying things. And I paid my bill, and I went and I sat in the car, and my sister was watching some video. The very moment I sat in the car, I'm like, I don't like this noise. Just stop it. And I was irritated, and she wondered what happened, and she switched it off, and we drove by. When we came home, I thought to myself, like, what was that reaction? Why was I irritated, or why I almost got angry? I don't know whether I was angry or not, but I definitely got irritated, and it was not cool on my part to do it for no reason. But then I realized when that man was shouting, and when I was trying to ignore his abusive conversation, at some point I started indulging into it, and it had an effect on me. And by the time I reached my other neutral space where there was no emotion involved and nothing was wrong happening there, I just used my sister as a little punching bag to have an outlet. Not okay. Not okay, because I knew what I did, but if I wouldn't have observed it, I wouldn't have known. So if I got angry, if I got irritated, and if at all, you understand that taking responsibility for your action is a good idea and not the perfect thing to do, but it's a good idea. If everybody takes care of themselves, it is easier for us to go around, right? Everybody being more responsible in the house is easier. Similarly, everybody being emotionally more responsible, it is an easier space, an expansive space, because then the conflicts can be resolved faster. I'm not saying there would be no conflicts. I'm just saying the resolve will come faster. So let's talk about this idea and let's go slightly deeper. So when I carry a burning coal and then I throw it on the other person, what am I doing? I'm literally taking the coal from somewhere and I'm throwing on the person I actually love, I actually care for. But because I have no space between the trigger and the response, I have repeated this point, but I think it's crucial for us to speak about the trigger and the response. If I don't have any space in between, then I will always be reactive, anxious, or angry, and then I cannot break my patterns. So I'm saying, why not to take the power of this uncontrollable behavior in our own hands? Will you be able to do it 100% of the time? Hell no. And that's not the idea also. We're human. We will make mistakes. And it's okay. Rather, it's also cool at times to make mistakes. The only problem is, let's go and make different kind of mistakes. If we keep repeating the same mistakes, then we are driven by these patterns and we have no choice. So the so-called idea or illusion of freedom is not true if we are not actually making free choices. Right? So free choices can happen only when you have a choice. Not every time, oh, this person, oh my God, if the person is going to get to me, then I have no choice to react to him, respond to him. I can't choose anything. So the question is simple. What makes you angry? There is nothing more descriptive in this question. What makes me angry right now? Full stop. Right? All the things that make you angry, think about in recent times, what still had control over you, how did you react? Observe these points and do the SS stroke while doing the journaling if possible. So I know you love it, and some people told me I do 5 pages of flow of thoughts. I'm like, great. One, just don't overdo. Secondly, so if your hand hurts and if you want to break the pattern, don't jump into it like that. Make it easier on yourself. Do at least 1 pages or maximum 2 pages. If you're behind the schedule, if you're starting right now, then make sure that you do only 2 days of journaling. So only 2 questions. I know you might have time on hand, but we cannot use 3 hours of journaling to solve the problem. If you indulge into journaling, then instead of being a solution-oriented tool, it becomes an escape mechanism, because then you are telling all the stories about how things went wrong and how things shouldn't have happened, and repeating the same experiences in your mind and putting your body through same reactions. So we don't want either. So what we're going to do, we're going to stick to a simple principle. We're going to write only 2 days of questioning and SS stroke, maximum 3 pages, no more than 3 pages. Use a ballpoint pen. Make sure that you write on a thick piece of paper. If not, then at least have few sheets underneath so that you don't have those impressions or imprints on other pages. When you are doing the practice, no phone conversations or no distractions. Avoid that, because I really want you to experience the breath. Very, very important. If it is driven by breath, it is fun. If it is not driven by breath and if you do it anyhow, then we do not establish this practice into anything. Which means that when you use your breath, you are establishing this practice into your breath, which is a beautiful process. Like your longer breath and the practice will come handy in actual moments of struggle, in actual moments of feeling overwhelmed. You can take out time, even in the future, where you can just do these SS strokes to find your own balance. When can that happen? That can happen in the future only when we cultivate this space. So, it's like if you want to eat an apple from your tree. One, you have to grow your tree. You also have to nurture it. You have to wait for the apple to ripe, and then only you can enjoy. So that process might not take more than 42 days. 21 days is a great example for you to connect and experience it. And I will come at the end of this workshop. I'll speak about how can you continue this practice on your own. What else can you ask? We'll get to all of that when we reach there. But as of now, because we are building towards a process that can stay with you as your companion in the moments where you don't know what to do, we are really plugging in and making sure that we do the work. Tomorrow, I would like to speak about how to journal to bring clarity. And if you have any questions on this topic, because this topic is slightly complicated, but I'm getting many questions on that. because people don't have clarity, they feel anxious. So I would say, schedule slightly longer hour for tomorrow's conversation. If we do 40 minutes, probably 1 hour. I don't know how long will we take, but keep that time in hand. Also keep your notepad handy. I may ask you to write certain things while doing this exercise. We may use some diagrams, and I may ask you to, look at certain aspects. So keep that handy in tomorrow's conversation. And do ask me questions about confusion, lack of clarity. I was clear, but this happened. So if I have more examples from your side or genuine questions that you are suffering from, I can weave them in the conversation and answer them specifically. Okay? Thank you so much for being part of this, and I can't tell you how exciting it is. By the way, today for the first time I'm doing Insta Live Takeover, which means there's a page called Amritam, and I'm gonna do a takeover. I'm gonna be part of their page and gonna do a live from there. I have no clue how to do it, but I'm gonna figure it out. So I, I keep talking about this, but it is essential for all of us to understand this, that when we choose to be present, choose to show up, choose to step up, we get into uncomfortable phases. And many a times when we are imagining our future, that makes us uncomfortable. We are like, oh, what if I hit that part of the road that I have no clue about, or uncertain or unknown areas? What would I do? How would I function? And I feel what I said, if we have to make mistakes, let's make new mistakes, which means we can do new mistakes. We can jump into new mistakes only and only when we are absolutely experimenting with our lives. If we go back and if we spend time repeating what happened, if we do not fix what was not working in the past, then it keeps coming back, and we are enslaved by that experience, that pattern, or that memory. So if you don't want to remain there, and if you want to make a different choice and show up more, then will it be uncomfortable? Yes, of course it will be uncomfortable, because you don't know what you're getting into, and it may break, and you might not like it at all. But at the same time, you are on a newer journey, and those mistakes are not about holding yourself back, but they're about figuring out new games and new paths, right? So I feel I'm committed to do that, and I believe you guys are also. That's why this conversation is going on a daily basis. So thank you so much. I see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Keep your notepads and pens ready, and we will, explore how to journal to bring in clarity. Do send me your questions. Do send me your essay strokes. And if you're joining in new, buckle up. We're gonna really go probably topsy-turvy tomorrow. Okay? So I have a comment here. Thank you, Pamela. She's saying so many insights, so many conversations, so many reactions. Thank you. More you guys speak to me, more we can bring into this conversation. And thank you guys for being so open, so vulnerable, and for trusting the process. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Bye bye.